How did Egypt, born from harsh desert sands, become a land of legendary wealth? For centuries, its riches inspired awe and envy. What was their secret? Gold, artifacts, and monuments tell a story of prosperity. The golden mask of Tutankhamun is just one dazzling example. Colossal statues like those of Ramesses the Great stand as symbols of enduring power. Egypt thrived by mastering its environment and resources. Their skill and foresight built a lasting legacy. Wealth was more than gold, it was the Nile's gift. The river's water, abundant stone, and the ingenuity of its people shaped Egypt's greatness. Deep beliefs and unity made their society strong. Egypt's story begins with the Nile. For 3,000 years, Egypt was a titan among civilizations. Its power drew traders and conquerors from afar. Merchants and invaders came, lured by its riches. Egypt's success came from nature's gifts, a prime location, and remarkable organization. These strengths made Egypt a crossroads of the ancient world. To understand Egypt's riches, we must return to the Nile's banks. There, a civilization learned to harness the river's power. Their ingenuity built an economic empire that shaped history. This is the story of nature's bounty and human brilliance, and how Egypt's legacy of wealth and achievement still inspires the world today. The Nile River, a majestic artery snaking through the arid landscape, was undeniably Egypt's lifeblood, the very essence of its existence. It was more than just a river. It was the foundation upon which an entire civilization thrived. It was the source of all abundance, the wellspring from which flowed sustenance, prosperity, and ultimately the power of the pharaohs. Each year, with unwavering predictability, the Nile would swell, its waters overflowing its banks. These annual floods weren't seen as a destructive force, but rather as a life-giving event that renewed the land with a precious gift, rich, black silt. This fertile sediment, deposited across the fields, acted as a natural fertilizer, enriching the soil and making it astonishingly fertile, far surpassing the productivity of lands in other regions. Unlike other civilizations that constantly struggled with unpredictable harvests and the threat of famine, Egypt enjoyed a remarkably reliable and self-sustaining agricultural system, all thanks to the Nile's consistent bounty. Egyptian farmers, skilled in the art of water management, produced huge surpluses of food. They developed simple yet effective irrigation techniques to trap the receding floodwaters, extending the growing season and maximizing their yields. They cultivated vast fields of wheat and barley. These two grains formed the cornerstones of their diet, providing essential nourishment and driving the engine of their economy. Grain wasn't just food, it was currency, a tangible measure of wealth and value. Taxes were collected in grain, wages were paid in grain, and the state maintained massive reserves of grain to ensure stability and provide for its people. Everything revolved around this precious commodity. This consistent surplus of food freed a significant portion of the population from the daily grind of farming, allowing them to pursue other endeavors. Skilled artisans emerged, crafting beautiful and functional objects. A powerful priestly class arose, dedicated to understanding and interpreting the divine will, and a professional army was established, protecting the kingdom from external threats and maintaining internal order. The predictable and reliable nature of the Nile's cycles instilled a deep sense of order and stability in Egyptian society, giving rise to the concept of Ma'at, the divine principle of balance, truth, and justice. This concept of Ma'at permeated every aspect of Egyptian life, anchoring their worldview, shaping their laws, and guiding their governance under the all-powerful pharaoh. The agricultural wealth generated by the Nile powered the entire state, providing the resources necessary for monumental construction projects like the pyramids, supporting a vast bureaucracy, and ensuring a buffer against the ever-present threat of famine. Before the allure of gold or the expansion of trade networks, it was the fertile Nile's mud, the life-giving silt deposited by its annual floods, that laid the foundation for Egypt's greatness, transforming a barren desert into a thriving civilization. Egypt's geography placed it at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean. This made Egypt a natural hub for trade, connecting it to the Levant, Nubia, the Sahara, and the Mediterranean world. Egyptian ships carried surplus grain, linen and papyrus abroad, returning with timber, wine, silver and luxury goods. The state controlled trade, taxing goods and swelling royal coffers. Overland routes to Nubia brought gold, ivory and exotic treasures, often secured by military might. Egypt's role as a commercial hub brought wealth and diplomatic leverage, making it indispensable to foreign powers. By controlling trade, Egypt enriched itself and solidified its dominance. Its strategic position was as valuable as its natural resources. Beyond the Nile's fertile valley, Egypt's deserts hid immense mineral wealth. Gold, seen as the flesh of the gods, was mined in the eastern desert and Nubia, fueling the pharaoh's power and diplomacy. Craftsmen transformed gold into iconic treasures, masks, jewelry and sacred statues, symbols of divine authority. The deserts also yielded limestone, granite, turquoise, copper and colourful gems, all used in construction and art. Even mundane resources like natron for mummification were valuable. State-organised mining and quarrying showcased Egypt's administrative might. Control over these resources gave Egypt a critical economic edge, supporting both domestic needs and exports. The Red Land's bounty was a pillar of Egypt's legendary riches. At the apex of ancient Egyptian society stood the pharaoh, a figure of immense power and influence. He was considered a living god, the ultimate owner of all Egypt's land, its abundant resources and the lives of its people. His word was law and his authority absolute. This perceived divine authority enabled the implementation of a command economy, a system where the state controlled virtually every aspect of economic life. This complex system was meticulously managed by a vast and intricate bureaucracy, with the vizier at its helm, acting as the pharaoh's right-hand man and chief administrator. The vizier oversaw all aspects of governance, ensuring the smooth functioning of the Egyptian state. Taxes weren't paid in currency as we know it today, but rather in the form of goods and labour, reflecting the agrarian nature of the Egyptian economy. A legion of scribes meticulously recorded every detail, from crop yields to the quantity of resources collected, ensuring accountability and providing crucial data for planning. Their records, etched onto papyrus, offer invaluable insights into the workings of ancient Egyptian society. The collected grain filled massive state-controlled granaries, strategically located throughout the kingdom. This stored wealth was then used to pay the salaries and provide sustenance for a wide range of individuals essential to the functioning of the state, including government officials, priests who maintained the vital link to the gods, soldiers who defended the realm, and the vast workforce of labourers responsible for monumental construction projects. This elaborate system served as a form of national insurance, a safety net designed to protect the population from hardship. During periods of poor harvests or natural disasters, the state would release grain reserves to the population, preventing widespread famine and social unrest. This proactive approach to disaster management was a hallmark of the pharaoh's rule. Centralized planning ensured that the nation's resources were strategically allocated to serve the pharaoh's overarching priorities, whether it was funding military campaigns, undertaking ambitious construction projects like the pyramids, or engaging in diplomatic missions to secure alliances and trade agreements. Paying taxes was not merely an economic obligation, but also a deeply ingrained civic and religious duty, reinforcing the social contract between the ruler and the ruled. This system of taxation and resource management played a crucial role in reinforcing the pharaoh's legitimacy, solidifying his position as the divinely ordained leader of Egypt. This unique fusion of religious authority and administrative control created a remarkably stable and effective system for managing the nation's wealth, allowing Egypt to flourish for centuries. The pharaoh's command over resources, coupled with a sophisticated administrative apparatus, transformed Egypt into a land of enduring prosperity and a beacon of civilization in the ancient world. The pyramids and temples weren't just religious monuments, they were economic powerhouses. Building them required vast resources, logistical planning, and a massive organized workforce. Stone was quarried and transported, craftsmen and laborers were fed from state granaries, and industries from mining to pottery thrived. These projects created jobs and drove economic activity nationwide. Once built, temples and pyramids needed permanent staff and were endowed with lands and assets for upkeep. These endowments concentrated wealth under temple control, making priesthoods powerful economic players. Monumental construction was a state investment that unified and stimulated the economy. The legacy of these projects is both spiritual and economic, shaping Egypt for centuries. Temples became economic giants, owning vast estates, herds and workshops. Managed by priests and scribes, they collected rents, managed production and stored wealth in massive granaries. Temples acted as banks, issuing loans and financing trade expeditions for ritual goods. Daily offerings supported thousands of staff, redistributing wealth within communities. The high priests, especially at Karnak, sometimes rivaled the pharaoh in power. Temples controlled a huge share of Egypt's productive capacity, becoming parallel economic systems. They were not just houses of worship, but the financial engines of the kingdom. Egypt's wealth rested on the labor of millions: farmers, artisans, and laborers. Farmers, tied to the Nile's rhythm, produced the surplus that fed the nation and filled the granaries. Skilled artisans, stonemasons, goldsmiths, weavers, created the goods that defined Egyptian culture and fueled trade. Many worked in state or temple workshops, passing down skills for generations. State projects relied on conscripted labor, not slaves, with workers compensated in food and goods. Slavery existed but was limited. Most monumental work was done by citizens. This organized, taxed, and conscripted workforce transformed natural resources into enduring wealth. The unseen hands of Egypt built its legendary riches. Egypt's wealth was the result of synergy, a convergence of nature, geography, and human organization. The Nile's abundance freed people for other pursuits, while Egypt's location made it a trade powerhouse. Deserts yielded gold and gems, fueling art and diplomacy. Centralized rule and bureaucracy harnessed these resources for monumental projects and stability. Temples became economic centers, managing wealth and production. From humble farmers to divine kings, Egypt's integrated system created a self-sustaining cycle of prosperity. This holistic model is why Egypt's riches remain legendary, casting a golden shadow through history.